Gaeilge Weekly is brought to you by Learn Irish Online. For way more shows, videos, podcasts and courses for learning the language, head to learnirishonline.com or patreon.com/learnirishonline.
You've been the best at times, you walk me through my darkest days. Why must I turn around? I ask myself. This just ain't fair, so hard to bear. I'm not really sure these days. You walk me, you don't.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, Madama, Tronoma. You're very welcome back to the podcast Fáiltearás Chuig on Bud Gaeilge to Gaeilge Weekly Chuig Gaeilge Weekly with me, Liam from Learn Irish Online. Lumsa Liam o Learn Irish Online. Hope you're all doing well. Thasúlagam Gwilsiv Galer ag déanú Gama. Before I forget, Riv a dhéanam Jarmid, I meant to say, bhí me chun rá at the start of this podcast, ag tús an fud Gaeilge seo, that this is going to be the last episode coming out before the summer break, or before the summer holidays. So baisi seo mar an tagran Jeranach ag teachtamach Riv leichen the Sierra on tSamhraidh, no Riv sus on tSamhraidh. So basically, next few weeks is going to be no Gaeilge Weekly. As always, we always do this during the summer, around August, sometimes in July, or into LÚNASA, or into Mule. So about 3 weeks off. Well, it's actually only going to be 2 Wednesdays off, but it'll be 3 weeks until the next podcast. And Levaik actually, caiiciis no, well, gá chéadaoin 2 Wednesdays nach mai episódí ag teachtamach, agus an sin baimidir ras chuig on Gnáth schedule, back to the normal schedule, on 3 láidéig mí LÚNASA on the 13th of August. So after today, no Gaeilge Weekly, apart from there will be one bonus episode, as always, coming out on Patreon at patreon.com/learnirishonline for Gaeilge Weekly and LIO members. Buil LIO agus buil Gaeilge Weekly by bonus episode 1, agran sa bhreis ó 1 le fáil an sin. But apart from that, seacha sé sin, there'll be nothing coming out until the 13th of August. Ní bhain rud eile le Gaeilge Weekly ag teachtamach go dtí an 3 láidéig mí LÚNASA. I've made it very important to say that at the start of the show. Bhí sé an tábhachtach dom é sin a rá ag tús an fud Gaeilge, because I remember to say it. Obviously, you always say these things at the start of the show because more people listening at the start than the end. Only derm or bechartich éireachtaí dhéanamh chun na rudí seo dhéanamh. You should try to say these things or do these things at the start of the show, mar tá níos mó daoine ag éisteacht, more people listening ná mar bhíonn ag deireadh on show than there just be at the end of the show. So I said it was important, and I did it in the full version. Rinne me sa lagan omlán sin fud Gaeilge. But if you listen to the lagan níos simplí, to the more simple version, mas rud é gnéistan tú leis an lagan níos simplí, you'll hear that I completely forgot to do it until about 26 minutes into the show. Bhí muid ag labhairt feadh beidir sé nóid is fé Riv a thug mé fi deara Riv a chuimhní mé. Crap, I need to say that. Kaime a sin Rob, that's okay. No problem at all. And again, if you follow us over on Instagram, different places, we're always putting up stuff about this in relation to different breaks or different changes to schedule. Áthraithe maidir leis an schedule, agus rudí difriúla le Gaeilge Weekly, agus le Learn Irish Online. Anyway, thank you very much for tuning in. Gur míle maith as túnal isteach. All is good here in speisialta gachrad chuma, and so is Seville back in the normal office at home today, rash. So gná ifig, Somalia in yo. And it's my last few days in Seville, actually, before I head back to Ireland for some holidays myself, actually, which kind of coincide. And one of the reasons why we're taking our summer break now, Cians in the fauna, a wulmudge ag tógáil sus an tSamhraidh no leichen the Sierra anish le Gaeilge Weekly, agus le rudí eile Learn Irish Online, is because I'm going back to Ireland this weekend on Sunday to make dollar ash gehéireann an dearad seachtainna seo on Domhnach. So I'm actually not going straight back to Galway, which I normally do. Níl méid dul dearad ghaliamh an rud a dhéanam de gná. And in fact, I actually normally don't come home this time of year at all. De gná hart an am seo gen bhlín ní bhíonn mé ag dollar ash ní bhíonn mé ag fiú an churbe. But this year I've decided to change it up a bit. As I think I maybe mentioned once or twice on the podcast, but not too much. Getting beidir go luair mé é seo lagan nó gó nó agran nó gó an bud craile ach ní mór an, not much. And that's that normally I go home for a week in April, week in September, and a week at Christmas. Jegan ná te moille, seacht an bháin mi Aibran, seacht an bháin mi bhean fóver, agus seacht an bháin mi na nullag. But this year, mainly because of what happened last year, I've decided to go back home a bit earlier, more so during the summer. So in Molina, is dócha ní smólna in Rodella, I guess more than anything else, because of what happened last year, Mial Chadaharla and Uri, I decided, right, it's just too hot here in August. Last year, I did all the month of August here in Seville, and Uri Riname, and Vleen Umlan on Shot is Seville in me LÚNASA. And it was not too nice, I must say. It was a bit too much. And I was very sick for about 10 days during that time. Vi me anachin fa heart jet law. Egonomshins, that obviously didn't help, and with the heat and no escape from it, not nice at all in the Roshig Jas or Hurbe. But it was also more so, and even more so than the heat, Nís Mo, Naw and choked, just that there was no one around. There's nothing really on here in the summer. A lot of businesses closed down, especially in August. Gohoriha in me LÚNASA, being a launch in a Gnáthleagan, Déanta, and I said next year, you know, because the way it works here, once you get to 1st September, everything kind of changes back pretty quickly. Being gach or the ahra rash, Gaeilge says Gnáthleagan back to the norm, soft happy, really, almost overnight. Being like Hariha around the 1st of September, Simplí on Gaeilge Law to be Mionfover. Why? Because, well, I guess students are back. A lot of people come back from holidays, being Landínig Filu. Late in the Sierra. It's not like, you know, in Ireland where outside of teachers and lecturers, most people work just as much in the summer as they would outside of the summer. Being Dini, Egdana, Bielnach on Maids Ken, Ibra, Ira, and Tauri, Marvin, Chidig Janu, Tivumwe, Jen Sarah, Arash, and Aaron back in Ireland. So here it's very much, people very much prioritize, regardless of what job you have. You know, it's coming really if we can't fuss at August. Most people take a few weeks off in August, or the work that they're doing will be less intense. Ní bhaisidig geno on maids céanna Ibra ire na misa during the month of August me LÚNASA. So 1st September, kind of everything goes back to normal. So I said this year, if I'm going to go back home for a week, 10 days, 2 weeks, Montome hun Dolarash Gaheran or for Shachtana, jet law, Kaikish, better to do it in August, end of July, me LÚNASA Deraviul. So that's the plan this Sunday, the 27th, I think it is. Yeah, is it the 27th, the 26th, the 27th. To Dhaoine. On Seachtal Las Fihe, me Úl, I'm flying to Belfast, of all places, to my Getzels Gavel Fersta. You can't actually go direct here from Seville, so I have to cross the border into Portugal. Kahime on Turon, or Frasnu, on Shin, Gadi on Fortingale, and I'm going to have to get the flight from Faro there, along with all the British and Irish tourists, the thosaitheoirí as an Ratin, agus as Aaron, Arnoi, who are down making holidays down on the Algarve, Tá Deno, Lake in the Sierra, he's on Shins and Algarve. I'll be along there with them on the flight back to Belfast. Probably be one of the few people living on this side of the Bay of Biscay, or this side of France, let's say, on Taobh Shaw, Den Rank, who will actually be flying home. Yeah, home. It is home, of course. Ireland will always be home by air Goni Mar. You know, an bailile dumsa agus hun a bheith in an Dollarashka here in Toshigazula Dolawalya going back there, and it's like going home, but it's obviously not the place where I live now. Nís mar an áit a bhfuil me Machoni anish. So I'll be one of the few people probably living out this side going back just for a week or two, while most people will be finishing their holidays on Chuide's Mode to Dini by Shide Chur Zera Lena Leihinta Sira. So why am I going to Belfast? Going to Belfast for the Tradfest. The my dul Gavel first the done Tradfest on feist Ceol Tradiisiúnta a bhaid shul on Tachtan Shahugan. It's on for a decent length, actually. I think 9 or 10 days. Tá sé ar siúl a friend ní no jet law. Needless to say, ní chaith mé rá. I'm not going for all 9 or 10 days. I'd be a dead man by the end of it. And I'd probably have no money left as well. Bheith me marv ag dzera an treibh sin agus cínta nach meich ein arrogance fáca agam freshen. But I'm just going for the first 2 days, actually. When I was at the Irish pub here the other day, watching the hurling final, nervy me ag an Teachtorvna Éireannach an seo an lá hána ag fécint an Gléthaí Ceannis. I was actually speaking to another guy, kind of an older guy, who's from Dublin, who lives here in Seville, Ladní Sinna, atá in the Chónaí an seo is Seville, and he's gone to Tradfest too, but we're nowhere near overlapping one another. Níl muid fiú congrach le overlap agus a bheith an sin ag an céine to be there at the same time, because I'm going to, I think, day 2 and 3 and he's going to day 7 and 8 or something along those lines. Tá mis ag dul go lá iver 2 agus lá iver 3 agus sesin lá iver 7 lá iver 8 rud éigen mar sin. So it's on for a good amount of time. It's not like a normal festival, music festival, where it's just on in one park or fields, and there bhíonn sé ar siúil I bork no gurt amháin for 2 or 3 days, and you don't even leave the kind of premises or leave the fields ní bhíonn tú ag fágáil an gurt. It's not like that at all. It's just more so like the Galway Arts Festival or something, different things on around town during the week. I think ruddy different or siúil timpeall na cathrach I ri na seachtaine. So I'm going there on Sunday. Some people listening to this might be there, so who knows, might see it around Belfast. Chance go bheice mé timpeall Véil Feirste Shiv. I'll be there from Sunday afternoon on to early Sunday afternoon, really, until probably Tuesday evening. Might even hang around until Wednesday, but I have accommodation booked on Loisteen Curha in Oriha Agam for Sunday until Tuesday, so I might extend into the Wednesday, I'll see. But if anyone's there and you see me about, please come up, say hi, have a chat, by all means. Let a hell. Tarp Wiggum, say hi, with no problem at all. Would love to be chatting to people. It's happened a few times. I was at home last few times. Hardly sé couple or yearnach around me Arash and the last few times I was back in Ireland, the people actually kind of recognised me just twice, literally. That was all when I was out in Galway City, and people said to me, "Oh, you the guy who does podcast or does Learn Irish Online and stuff." And we'll tusa mar dinna bhínig téanú Learn Irish Online no Gaeilge Weeklies, which is cool, bit weird, of course, being hashtag. But if you see me around Belfast or Galway the following few days, by all means, say hi to me. By all means, Tarsoops agus Rahailum. Lonsas the Hunlauert live, and very grateful as always for your support on the podcast on bhuich mar is gnách as we're gwid takeíochta on Budcraile. So the reason I'm not actually that into trad, to be honest, let me rochafa le ceol trad. I mean, I like it and like going to session and stuff, but in terms of, I would never listen to it by myself. If I have my JBL speaker here, my thought on speaker JBL logum, and so I'm not really going to put any trad. The closest I might go, I might listen to a bit of Christy Moore. I definitely would. Bit of Solid Doctors, bit of, it's not trad by any means, but that type of, I guess, guitar music, if you want to call that, Irish guitar music with an actual song to it in terms of lyrics, lyricy, leis agus mar sinnte. But in terms of just different instrumental songs, if you'd call them that, I'm so not clued into the trad, I don't even know what you'd call it, not that much. The closest I might get would be, what's the song? Her eyes, they shine like diamonds. They call her the Black Velvet Band. That's the... that they don't call her Black Velvet Band, but that's the name of the song. Sin an Tanam atá on our run, something like that, or Dubliners or Chieftains, be closest, Whiskey in the Jar, stuff like that. But apart from that, I'm not massive into the trad, or don't know too much about it anymore, and really roll sogum foi. So it's not even more so that much for the music. I mean, still with trad, you get to go to the bar and be chatting to different people, and it's a great atmosphere ionntach dá gceist, or at least I hope there will be. Tásúlagam go mai atmosphere ionntach ag buint leis. But I guess more than anything, it's just the idea of going with my friends. I have a few friends, the cúpla cara ag dul, and I'm going with them or meeting them in Belfast. They'll be driving up from Dublin by Sheedson ag Tomans of Clia. So it'll be nice to see them again. They're actually friends who I met here in Seville. They're Irish, but I met, well, some of them are Irish, one of them is Spanish. Cara one is Spáinneachí ach bhfuil mé léithí an seo Seville, and then the other two as well, they're Irish friends who I met here in Seville. Cuairtearnach a bhfuil mé lo an seo is Seville Gnáthleagan. Excuse me. So it'd be great to see them again. They left Seville about 8 or 9 months ago, bit 8 nó 9 míochain and ish dog she'd Seville. So it'll be great to see them and spend a bit of time with them. It's funny, we're both Irish, but we've barely ever met each other in Ireland. You know, it's éarnig muid an Turgan ach ceapan bit orháin bhfuilmuid le chéile in Éireann ar fáil láháin, maybe one day once we met up in Ireland together, but apart from that we've only ever met in Spain, so it's kind of funny dynamic in some ways, dynamic beginning Granver no Ashtach Lee in a way. So that'd be really nice. And also, as much as that, getting to see Belfast for the first time, chance chun Béil Feirste echal don chéad or, because it's not somewhere I've ever been to. Ní raibh mé riamh an sin in Béil Feirste. I've only been to Northern Ireland once. It was 2011. Gábhfuil sa héintag bhí sé sin mar an tain or an chéad or agus go dtí seo an or dhearnach the first time, and until now the last time that I was in Northern Ireland, around me Éasca na hÉireann, or the north of Ireland, depending on what you want to call it. And the only reason we went that year on Tain Fá a Chuimmuds on Bhlín Sin was because we're going to go, kind of, I suppose, like a lot of Irish families of my generation, we'd always go 1 week of holidays somewhere in Europe or somewhere abroad, let's say. TSamhraidh, always in Europe though, or Europe or the UK, on Déanta in Europe for 1 week in July or August. So we never really go again during the year at Easter or anything like that. Some of the families with more money would, and then some of the families, I suppose, that didn't have that opportunity, Cluna Nachrau on Jeshin Akub maybe didn't go at all. Chance, Nachrau she dictol a notch or Herbe. We would always go for 1 week, maybe 10 days, France or Spain or somewhere. Or even the UK, across to Manchester, Liverpool, or whatever, Trasnang and Manchan, no Larfall, no Rudhagan. Mar in 2011, we were going to go to London. It got us Hinjag Vimut Huntol go London, but the riots happened last year, Vrina Kreibicha, Shul on Bhlín Sin in London. So because of that, we didn't end up going at all. Marialler Sin, the Yachimuds or Herbe, but parents still wanted to bring us somewhere. The Ardishmohori Fos, Agiri Dull, Agus Muds o Horchlow, all Chagan. So we just drove up across the border to Enniskillen and to Omagh as well. And I think we stopped in Boyle in Roscommon on the way, which, needless to say, Boyle in Roscommon is not a part of Northern Ireland, or officially part of the UK. Níl sé mar chuid de Túisceart Éireann, níl sé gohofagul mar chuid in Déanta ach an airad. But I do remember we stopped there on the way, and I think, and did the Zipish, the Adventure Centre there. That was 14 years ago now. Cur Blin Jago in. I wonder if it still calls the same thing. I'm going to look that up very quickly. Zipish Boyle, Ireland. But Zippet Forest Adventures, it still is in Boyle. They have not changed the name. Neil Antanam Ahriha Akub. That costs €42, probably only 15 back in the day. Chance na Crouchia, €2 dig, sheer, it's the link in the shin. But anyway, that was the only time I was ever in Northern Ireland, and I've never really been in, to be frank about it, any kind of main Protestant areas near Harlashe Gorá me in a notch, nís, Protestúnach, or nís Eintoch, more unionist areas. So it's, it's a different experience, obviously, going somewhere near the border like Enniskillen, or Enniskillen might be actually an area, but we were near Enniskillen. We were always kind of more so staying in more Catholic areas, as I suppose most people from the south. And chud smó dhaoine ó Phoblacht na hÉireann from the Irish Republic, from the Republic of Ireland, do when you go up north, you're normally not going to stay, right in the middle of a Protestant section of Derry or Belfast City, or even somewhere like Ballymena or more Protestant town. You're going to go more to Catholic area or mixed area like Belfast City Centre, Altagan Maskio, Cosúil, Lorna Corrock, Melfersta. So it's obviously a very different experience, or I'd imagine it's a very different experience. Again, I've never done it. To make Saulu Gomech sé mar tahi on the Tifruil. So this weekend, or well, Sunday's Tuesday, so on Tachlan Shogun next week will be really interesting. For me, it's something I'm trying to learn a lot more about, is the Troubles, the Tribology, and the history of Northern Ireland, Star, Thuiscart na hÉireann as well. I think I mentioned it before, Ceapan gur luí me a rivisha, but I have a lot of goals obviously this year that I wrote down. I actually did a podcast on this about a month ago, looking at how I was doing with my goals for the year, halfway through the year, Lavalag, Treeds, and Lean, Conas of E. Ruddy Dol, agus my sprochanach, agus my aimana, my goals and my aims, how they were going. And two of them was to learn more about two specific topics. Vi gá hopic agum, agus vi me géri o wad nís mó ólish a aulam fui na rudí seo. One of them was learn a lot more about famine. Ceall bháin nachú bhí sé sin thola bhád ní smó ólam faoin gcuirta mór. And then another one was to learn a lot more about the Troubles. Ceall eile bhí sé sin thola bhád ní smó ólam faoi na Tribology. So the famine I haven't really dipped into too much yet. I will towards the end of the year. I think Tommy Hunna Shinny, Beidir Whig Jarrett and the Blina, but I have been looking at a lot of stuff in relation to the Troubles. Tommy, Trish Lan, Taita Yenu, agus Lan Le Horchta, Nismo, not in Rodella. A lot of reading more than anything else. After doing a lot of that on the Troubles and still doing it, folks, Tashishin on Yenuagam. I have a brilliant book by the name of Making Sense of the Troubles by David McKittrick, and I think David McVeigh is the other guy's name. I always forget it, but I'm fairly sure I checked it on the simpler version of the podcast this morning. Madsen rinne me sheker, nervi me ag tafadu on lagan ní simply John Fotografia. David Kittrick, agus David McVeigh. Came out in 2000, same year I was born, on Bhlín Céine a Rogu Mahain. And of course, an interesting year to be born, and probably more so if you're from Northern Ireland, especially smó Más Rudaig or Rogu I dúsceart na hÉireann who. But even if you're from the south, because again, the Troubles never overlapped in my life. I was born basically 2 years and a few weeks after the Good Friday Agreement. Rogu Gnáthleagan agus cúpla seachtain mé tar éis chomhairtíocht íana an chéasta. So I don't remember the Troubles, of course, different isolated events, cúpla actors de friúil a Harla I ri Mahail in Northern Ireland, but even Omagh, which was technically after the Troubles, I believe, or after Good Friday, ceapan gur Harla an Búma an sin in Omagh. You know, that I wasn't even alive for that. Ní rá me bio le sin. And of course, even if I was, I wouldn't be able to remember it. Few Más Rudaig go rá me bio, you know, beidir go Rogu in each no shock too, no each no hocht. Maybe you were born 97, 98, you still wouldn't be able to remember something like Omagh or some of the later kind of latest events that happened in regards to the Troubles, cúpla ceann na hachtree. Is Janie a Harla Madra leis na tribology. So I suppose because of that, it's interesting because I want to learn as much about as I can. I love history. I love Irish history. I love 20th century history. It's even stadger sa fiú hís, stadger na hÉireann. But although we did loads about the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the fight for independence before that, an trid an sin, chun an nafsblachas a bhaint amach, rive sin, and Devalera, Cosgrave, and Sean the Mass and the emergency on Aigeanthal and all these different things that happened in Ireland during, I suppose, from independence through to 1949. Our performance on Navsblachs, Gudji, Níje Caracani, when we officially left the Commonwealth. We never really did anything on the Troubles. The Arna Jane wrote Éireann na Tribology. And I guess, you know, when I started secondary school in 2012, that was only, 14 years after Good Friday? Níor se sin a ceirblion deag tar éis chomhairtíocht íana an chéasta. So you can't even blame, really, the education system for not getting it in that fast. But it definitely should be something thought about more. I don't know what it's like up in the north and how much it's taught there. Níl sagam conas atá sé hús I dúsceart na hÉireann. Maybe it's just left out. Maybe, of course, that's part of the British education system. Tá sé sin mar chuid is tócha de course educus ric Déanta, so maybe that affects it as well. But it's definitely something, you know, I think as much as you can give about schools not teaching you certain things, you know, you have a chance as an adult to do study yourself. Tá seans agat mar chun na fásta chun stadger a dhéanú ar rud aigean tú hain. You know, a lot of people listening to this podcast are doing that with the Irish language. A lot of daoine ag éisteacht leis an budcréile seo. Tá sibse ag déanú an rud sin leis an Gaeilge. So, you know, as a maybe feeling like you didn't get enough of it at school, or you didn't put the effort in, or the teachers didn't put the effort in, beidir nor chur tosa an éasca, no the wound chur or maybe you all did, but you want to improve more and you're doing it now as an adult. Probably if you're listening to chance ma gohfuil tú genuine rud sin agus ag chur an éireacht sin isteach mar gona fásta as an adult. And I'm trying to do that with the Troubles and want to do that with the famine, of course, later in the year. Tá géire sinna and leis an Gurta Mór, níos dé níos a bhlín, or maybe next year, no beidir an bhlín sehugan if I don't have the time. But it'll be cool to get to go to Belfast. And, you know, it's one thing reading about it from here, from the south of Spain, rud amháin, ag léamh faoin na tribology an seo in yeisceart na Spáine, but a different thing completely. Rud aigean go thomlan de friúil atá gceist to actually be there walking around in Belfast, you know, hopefully plans go not just to the falls but also to the Shankill, just to random places around town and really soak it up and get a feel for the place. So yeah, a bheith mochu cén chuí a bhfuil sé chun a bheith I mé first than to think about some of the history and the sad history, the brutal history, the horrible history that happened there throughout the years, you know, and star úfásach a Harla I ri na mlínta in Belfast and across Northern Ireland in mé first the trasna thuisceart na hÉireann. And as well in the UK, if you think of the bombs in Birmingham and London and Guildford, agus also Yafrula. This book I'm reading is brilliant at the moment. I'd highly recommend it for people in a similar situation to me, especially people from the south, and go hurried daoine on Geshcart, people who want to learn more about the Troubles, people maybe my age, or just people who don't know much about it, or, you know the general outline of what it's about, but don't know about specific incidents, níl sacu beidir faoi actrí áirithe, or why it happened and why it went on for so long, cén fá a tharla sé cin fá a lean sé rá don méid sama sin. People who maybe don't understand, well, what's the difference between the SGLP and Sinn Féin, or Calavie mar an difricht. Agus cad atá fós mar an difricht idir an SGLP agus Sinn Féin and the UVF and loyalists and paramilitary groups and Thatcher and different Faulkner, different people who were involved in governing Northern Ireland or governing UK, Daoine Difriúil i gceannas ar an ríocht Déanta, i gceannas ar thuaisceart éireann ag an sin. It's really good. Making Sense of the Troubles by David McKittrick and David McVeigh, and it just lays out pretty much everything that happened from 1920, 1921, the start of partition, 1922, even níideag feithidó, níideag feithain, up until the year 2000, could see on Bhlín Gaeilge, which is the start, first few years already into the peace process. Chúpla bliain is tig an sin tar réis an phróiseas nó tús an phróiseas síochána at the start of the peace process. So I'm really enjoying it. Enjoying it's maybe the wrong word, but certainly learning a lot from it. Ag fógal am lá rudí why, and again, going to Belfast and actually being there will, I think, be a different experience. And, I'll be, again, to be frank about it, I don't think I've ever been on the islands of Ireland and seen Union Jack. Ní chapam go raibh sé agam riomh a héal a bhí mé nó rá mé in Éireann, Uillinn na hÉireann, and that I saw Union Jack or go wacha mé Union Jack go wacha mé Bratach and ríocht Déanta. It'll be a weird sensation to see PSNI cars, which are much more similar to the UK or Britain police than they would be to the Gardaí, to having to be using pounds and so. And that might hit me in a certain way and touch me in a certain way of like, what do I think about this now? Does this change my opinion on Afrin to show Beidir an dearca atá agam? Because there's one thing, again, I was only there 2 days and more, so in Catholic areas, we min sinner for Gael law, 3 bliana jego hin, agus níos mó na bhí mé in áit and istócha níos Catholic-y. But it's nothing then going to, if I end up in East Belfast at any time, I don't know, will I? But if I walk to Shankill, let's see, to have a look at it on next week, but to make sure in Shankill and Sachthan Sogan Hone Ekal and so on. So really interesting, really looking forward to see my friends, to see Belfast, to get to know it. Might even extend my accommodation by day chance mag of Vanhime on Shin Beidir Law Wanella, to have a day to myself, to just be able to look around and see the place and get to know it on Athna or an arch. We'll see, I'm not fully sure, but definitely have 2 days there at least gone out by Gala Agaman Sin Air Allied. So looking forward to it, and just looking forward to be back home and just a bit less work in East Luibra. I'm already kind of started that last few weeks, I must say. Tá sais tús chur agam le sin le cúpla seacht an ús, just chilling out a bit, because I have been very busy for the first 6 months of this year. Bhí mé fear chanóchach don chéad sé bhí den bhlín seo. So just trying to do a bit less. And yeah, just enjoy the summer and not to be so worried about, even this morning I found myself ar mads and bhí mé buganín like, I've got this flight on Sunday, I have to do this thing on Friday, I have to get the bus to Faro Saturday evening, come in bus all go Faro ihe to Saturn because my flight's early on the Sunday, tá metal take dul Galua on sin on downloch, and just instead of saying worry about that when you get there, it's nothing you have to buy your source out in advance. The lane road kai do Dano River Ray, maybe the check-in at some point. You can do that on the bus to the airport. There's loads of time. Just chill out, enjoy day by day, instead of when you get home and not nor fricking to in air and to be thinking, I want to go back to Spain now to make it the rash and spawn. Just be like, right, that's now whatever is in front of me, I'm gonna enjoy. Pay road, tá dúrach os mo chóir, tá mé chun taitneamh a bhaint as sin, instead of always being worrying about the next thing or tomorrow or next week. And áit sé gcónaí a bheith bortha faoin géadú eile agus cad bhaid ar siúil an tachtan sa thugan an an bhí se thugan next month. And so hopefully about 9-10 days in Galway after 2 days in Belfast, and fly back to here on the 9th or 10th of August. Etil tal ration seo hart ar a new law no an jehu law me LÚNASA. And that is it really. That's the plan, guys. Nice place to end it, I guess, now that Gaeilge Weekly is on its summer holidays. Nish Gaeilge Weekly late in the Sierra on tSamhraidh. Big thank you for listening, and not just today, but throughout all of this year so far. Ní one in yo. Ach, just right na bliana seo, right gábhílas fé cuaig go dtí seo. Very, very thankful for your support. You listen to an episode once in a while, it's come a má éastan tú le episode the éasca, or you listen to every episode a few times and you're a member on LearnIrishonline on Patreon. Mas rud ag bhfuil tú the wall ar Patreon ar LearnIrishonline. very, very grateful for your bhuíoch, and I hope a lot of people listening to this will also be going on holidays or just trying to maybe enjoy the weather, enjoy whatever over the next few weeks. So tasúlagam go déan gach an bhá, and you can do a bit less work. Take this as your sign if you're listening to this, a bit less work or a bit less of whatever is bothering you, and just enjoy it, and don't be afraid to say, I'll go out with my mates, or I'll go on this trip, or I'll do this or do that if you can, or spend more time with loved ones, níos mála a chathú le cóirde, le clán, agus mar sinja, and so on. As I said, we'll be back on 13th of August, or even the 12th of August, if you remember, on Patreon, since they go out a day early there. Ar an trí láideag mí LÚNASA nó fiú, an dara láideag mí LÚNASA más rud é gohfuil tú i do bháil ar Patreon, as they go out a day early. Mar gheall go déan siad amach lá níos luútha an sin ar Patreon. And that's it, guys. Very, very happy summer to you guys, and looking forward to getting back to normal schedule on 13th of August. Ag tinú go mór le fill ras ar gná schedule ar an trí láideag mí LÚNASA, but more than that, níos mó ná sin to, just have everything chill out for next few weeks and enjoy the holidays on Tatnam Winchester and Leigh the Sierra Revision. Speak to you guys then. Goodbye and God bless. Slán go fóil, slán agus banach.